Welcome to the podcast where we take a deep dive into the stories behind construction business leaders. We will share how they got started, how they found success, and the lessons learned along the way. I'm your host, Eric Fortenberry. Welcome to Builder Stories. Welcome back, everybody. I am really excited for today's episode. We've got Stephen Carlson from Coastal Contracting. They are located in Long Beach, Mississippi. Very excited to have you on, Stephen. It's been awesome getting to watch all of your growth and the success that you guys have had. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. So why don't you give us just a little bit of background, who you are and what you guys do. How did you get into contracting?
So first of all, thank you for having me on. Through a mutual friend, we ended up talking and here we are. So what do? We're custom home builders, custom and semi-custom. I don't do many spec houses, primarily custom and semi-custom. Really, we have so much business in the local area right here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast that we span probably 4 different cities here on the Gulf Coast. So we have a service area of probably 60 square miles or 60 miles. And we do also large-scale renovations to the tune of maybe $150K and up. We try to just keep large-scale projects.
That's awesome. How did you get into this? Have you always been building homes and large remodels, or did you grow up in the trades? Like what led you to construction?
So I did not grow up in the trades. However, I did grow up in the country, and we've built several houses. We built our family house, as well as built several barns. We had a farm and things like that. I've always loved construction. It's always fascinated me how things are done and why they're done that way. And then so I'm currently 56 years old. Probably about 12, 13 years ago, I got into construction. So maybe I was a late bloomer. Didn't necessarily come up in the trades, but I certainly understood them. And I certainly understood the flow of building a house. So for the first probably 8 to 10 years, all I did was remodels. I told myself the whole time I never really wanted to get into new builds because I really enjoyed the remodels, the challenges, and just the excitement on the client's face when you were done with the project. And at the end of the project, you could see the work you had performed, and that's where my satisfaction came from. And then after about 10 years of remodels, and we remodeled, one house was from the late 1800s. We've done several from the 40s and 50s and so on. But after that, after about 8 or 10 years, I decided that I would look into new builds. And then so I've got into new builds, and now as my company grows, it's funny as a business owner, Eric, sometimes we really limit our thinking. We think we want to achieve a certain goal or a certain level, whatever that might be. But then when we get there, or when we're on the path to get there, we realize that we're totally wrong, that we're thinking so small. Can you relate to where I'm going with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I see that all the time. And, it's interesting that, again, I also hear a lot of people think that, building a new home is actually can often be easier than building a remodel, when you're having to kind of deal with all the existing, conditions, the existing kind of plumbing and framing and everything that you really never know what you get into. So was that kind of the fear that you thought kind of just a new build? Was it the size of the project? Was it the dollar amount? Like, what do you think kind of made you sort of think you didn't want to go in that path, and then you found yourself wanting to?
So I'll be very blatantly honest with you and your listeners. It was self-confidence. It was thinking that there's no way I could handle that type of a project. That's just insane. That is for other people to deal with. I'm just not at that level.
Yeah.
And I remember the first kitchen remodel I did. I tell this story a lot. It was a $42,000 kitchen remodel. And I was scared, man. I was worried about it. And at the end, when I had it in the rearview mirror, when it was under my belt and I really realized how simple it was, that's when I realized how much I limited myself with my own way of thinking. So for other business owners out there, I know our audience with this podcast is wide, but if I could speak to other business owners directly, I would tell them, quit getting in your own way. work on your brand, and think big. Because if we think big, we can do it.
That's awesome.
So I think that was, for me, Eric, was getting over the fear, realizing that I actually could do it, building the confidence. And I love that I started, honestly, with the remodels, because if you've ever done a remodel versus a new build, remodels are 10 times harder because you never know what you're going to be dealing with from any aspect of the build. And so I love that I mastered, I would say I mastered the remodels, if I'm being honest. And so moving into the new builds for me was actually a breath of fresh air. This is something I thought I could never achieve, actually turned into something that was fairly easy for me.
That's great. I love hearing that. Would you say early on, what did your team look like? And, were you using trade partners and subcontractors to get the work done? Like, kind of how has your team evolved, both from an employee standpoint as well as from a trade partner standpoint?
Yeah, great question. It's ever evolving. Every day is something different. I would say initially it was me and two helpers. Initially, we built it up to 2-3 man crews and myself. So I actually had 2-3 man crews in the field. And I was struggling, though, finding the right people, the lead people, things like that. And I think trades is what a lot of us struggle with, is finding the right trade partners. You brought that up, trade partners. So I would say that was a challenge. Then COVID came. And then so my team went back down to myself, and I had 2 folks in the office, had a project manager and an administrative assistant, and we started subbing everything out. That's currently where I'm at right now, 4 years after COVID, is where we're subbing, I'd say 98% of the stuff out. We self-perform a small amount. I do see myself evolving, though, coastal contracting evolving into having another team real soon.
What would that team do?
One of the struggles is trade partners, and any contractor out there, even any homeowner who has ever built their house or even had something done, will tell you it's so difficult that people just don't communicate or they don't show up. And that struggle is real, as much as I know that's a cliche, but it is. The struggle is real with trade partners and with help.
Has there been anything that you've learned, or any strategies or techniques to try to mitigate that challenge as best you can?
So I'll prop up JobTread on this one. I'll plug JobTread on this. It is a great platform to be able to communicate with the subcontractors, to organize the subcontractors. The ability that your program allows us, the interaction that your program allows us to have with the subcontractors, really makes it easy. Versus prior, when you're trying to do everything over the phone or with a notebook or with pictures and text messages, it's just daunting. So certainly, we have definitely evolved in the way we do business with the subcontractors, but we've also evolved in our technologies.
Yeah. I think a lot of times too, I see a lot of people who are doing the remodel projects where typically, those projects might be, a couple months, but, definitely shorter than a full build. And so would you say having the ability to kind of schedule out, all of the trades, all of the, the different, phases of a home build, did that sort of help you also move in that direction?
Definitely. The charts, the Gantt charts, the different charts that JobTread offers, and we can also share that with our trade partners. So our trade partners can stay, if you will, live with us through the build. They can see if their timeline shifts and why it shifted. So definitely, I would say that that's definitely a force multiplier to be able to communicate at that level and to be able to communicate that clearly.
And do you have your trade partners using like the daily logs and like submitting, progress photos, things like that?
So we had them doing that for some time. And then I had a long-term trade partner that I recently quit doing business with, and we're having to kind of train up our current trade partners. You use the word, and I've used it several times, evolve. And it seems like business is always evolving. I don't think So somebody recently asked about arriving, and I said, what is arriving? I don't even know what arriving means. I don't think we ever arrive. I think we always evolve. And so we were using that, and I'll tell you, that was a great feature for the daily logs. Everything is real time. There's no delay in it. So as soon as they upload it, it shows it to everybody, to include the client. Great for client communications because you don't have your phone ringing all the time. So it's a great time saver. And it's also great just to help with the efficiency of the process.
Sure. Would you, what, I guess, kind of thinking about the sales process, how would you sort of define the challenges that you might have had? How does your kind of, you get a new lead in, kind of what does that look like? How do you manage that whole process all the way through to getting them to sign and become a customer and enter into the construction?
So for me, one of the icebreakers that I use when I meet with a client for the first time is I'll tell them, one of the very first things I'll say to them is, I'm not here to sell you anything. And I'm not. I'll tell them, I'm here to educate you on the build. I want you to know how the build goes. I want you to know how it works. And if I educate you properly enough, you'll want to buy from me. I won't have to sell you anything. And I truly tell them that. And many times you can see the wife or the female in the group, literally they'll take a deep breath and sigh, and you can actually see them relax. Several of them I've had say, thank you for saying that, because that really helped. And so for me, the sales process should not be stressful. It should actually be enjoyable. And so I take an educational approach. Now, I have a salesperson on staff, and I tried to get Susie on board with me for this video today, and it didn't work out on my end for scheduling purposes. Now, she might disagree with me, but I'm a fairly low-pressure sales guy. I take an educational approach with a client, and I feel like if I walk them through the process, if we can get across why things might take as long as they take, or why things are done the way they're done, then clients, I think they want that information. And I hope one of my audiences for this podcast is clients. And I would certainly tell future clients that I definitely want to take an educational approach with them. It's not any type of high-pressure sale. So once we get the client in, we try to meet with them. We try to determine what they need. Any build, in my opinion, needs three things. You need a set of plans, you need a survey, and you need to know a price. I think the number one question clients want to know when they walk through that door is, how much is this going to cost? They already kind of have an idea what they want most of the time. They have an idea where they want to live, location-wise, if they don't already own a piece of property. I think one of the biggest questions, especially since COVID, is how much is this going to cost me? So with that in mind, I remind them of the three things they need, which is the survey, the plans, and then a price. And so we, through 4-level coaching with Randy Stanberry out of Canada, I know Randy's a mutual friend. Is he out of Toronto?
I believe he is, but his team is all over the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah, they're all over the U.S. and Canada. But yeah, Randy is an awesome resource. So Randy helped me take those 3 items and actually package them. And he actually came up with a name for coastal contracting for a building blueprint. So we have a product that we can, so we actually have a product, right, that we can offer to the client and say, hey, we will have your plans drawn for you by a local architect. We will get the survey done for you, and we'll give you a price for a fee. And so what that does is really takes the load off the client's back. So they don't have to worry about, well, I don't even know where to find a survey company. How do I even start with plans? So, and then of course we get back to the price question. So really at Coastal Contracting, your question was our sales process from the time we first talk to the client to how we get them in our system. I would say it's an educational approach. I would say we meet with them. We try to break down any barriers of stress in the process. We try to, you'll note that I've not used, and I'll never use the word customer in this podcast or even in my vocabulary. Everybody who comes through my door is a client. I want a long-term relationship with them. I don't want a one and done and and we move on. That's not what I'm looking for.
Sure.
So I bring them into the coastal contracting family. I explain to them what the build looks like. I explain to them what it's going to take. And then we move forward into a contract and into the build.
I love that. I love the educational approach, and I think you're 100% right that really it to an extent it disarms the whole conversation. It disarms the relationship from feeling like this is a one way. I'm just here to sell you. It's I'm going to provide education. I'm going to help you learn, whether you choose me or someone else. Like, you're going to have a better understanding of what a build is going to what the experience is going to be in building your home. And I think that really, in turn, really helps win over a lot of people's trust and respect. And like when they find that you're very helpful in helping them understand things, like, it just gives them that much more reason to want to come back to you and want to work with you, because you've really set the tone for what the ongoing relationship would look like. And it's something that I know I've had the high powered salespeople come out and try to sell me things, and like it puts me on the defense every time. And then it kind of makes me sort of push back and push away, say, man, like I'm still exploring, like I'm not quite ready. And like I like your approach to being an educator and helping them learn and making sure that they're comfortable and that they want to move forward with you. Because again, if you come in and kind of use these high powered sales techniques and like just sort of feel like you've just kind of got them in really quickly, but maybe they weren't quite ready, then that might ultimately backfire on you later in the process, with other feelings or regrets or concerns that it's just better to kind of get all of that aired out there in the beginning and make sure everyone's comfortable moving forward.
It's funny too, and I'll share this story quickly. I had a couple come in and they met with me and my assistant, and it was our first meeting. And by the end of the meeting, they were ready to write a check. And I said, hang on, I'm not ready to write a check yet. Like, I gave you a lot of information. And they said, no, we're ready. Like, they were ready to go. It was a younger couple. And I said, at least think about it till tomorrow. Like, we just transmitted a lot of information, and it was a small build. It was around 300,000. But I was like, we need to slow down. I actually told them, we need to slow this thing down. Nope, they wanted to write that check. So they wrote a check. And over the course of about the next 30 days, it ended up where I went and got a cashier's check and gave it back to them. So my point is, hasty relationships are typically not good. They're not good for anybody.
Yeah.
Now, they're not happy with me. I'm happy with me because I feel like I was true to myself and true to my company. I feel like I gave them every warning possible. But just the point is, hasty relationships, I'm not about that. I would rather see my company have a long-term relationship. Most of my client base, it takes 8 to 12 months before we start a build. So you don't just walk in the door and we start next week.
Yeah.
We're talking about major projects. We're talking about the biggest purchase you would probably ever make in your life or close to it. We're talking about a purchase that you're going to be married to for probably 30 years. So it should be taken with some gravity. It should be taken with some weight. It should be taken with some seriousness. And so that's the approach I try to take. I truly do, if you will, follow the golden rule: treat others as you'd like to be treated.
Yeah. Are there? I'm curious. What made you give that money back? Was there something that you felt like it wasn't a good fit with that client, or was it a particular thing that they wanted you to build that you didn't feel was in your wheelhouse? Like, what led to that?
Yeah, so certainly the build would have been simple. It was actually a fairly easy build. It was a small house. What I sensed, though, is, and I sensed it the first time we met, and then I sensed it more over the 30 days, it was already bad relationship, and it wasn't going to get any better. And so at that point, I would rather just step back. And I feel like in hindsight that I should have stood my ground the first night we met and not taken the check. And I know there's probably some business owners out there. I've got friends that said, man, you're an idiot. If they want to write you a check, take the check. But yeah. I'm focused on the relationship. I'm truly focused on the relationship. And I know what it takes to have a long-term 12-month relationship with someone when you're trying to build a house, or a 6-month relationship with a stranger when you're trying to build a house. And if the relationship starts off rocky, it will not get any better. And so I sensed that early on. And I've had clients in the past that I don't do business with everybody who comes through our door. As much as they're vetting me to make sure I'm the right contractor, I'm vetting them to make sure they're my right client. That's another thing.
Any particular red flags, or like what do you how do you pre-qualify them? How do you vet them? Like, what are you looking for that might be a sign that this might not end well?
Well, I think a lot of times, and I catch myself doing the same thing in my own life, well, how much is this going to cost, or how much is that going to cost? A lot of times, if their entire focus or their entire conversation revolves around price, that typically doesn't end well, because then everything seems to be cost-driven. And anything we build at Coastal Contract, and I mentioned early on, we're semi-custom as well as custom. We don't use anything that's contractor grade. We don't use any contractor grade lighting or contractor grade faucets. Actually, in the room next to me is a showroom that we're almost ready to open. And so where we can have the clients come in and pick their own selections of our custom cabinets, of our countertops, quartzite, and granite, and shower fixtures. All we use is Delta. We don't use knockoff fixtures. And so a lot of times when we're vetting clients, we really want to emphasize to the clients that they're getting the quality. They're getting a certain level of quality if they go with Coastal Contracting. Some of the other vetting questions might be the location that they're looking to build in. Or sometimes you have clients come in, and this is really, really upsetting, is when clients come in and they have a set of plans that they've paid $10,000 or $20,000 for, and then they find out those plans won't fit, that house won't fit on the piece of property they own. And so, I'll go back to our first part of the podcast where I talked about the educational approach. I love it when a client comes in the door talking about vetting as well, when they don't have property and they don't have plans, because that allows me to help them put it together. It's like putting the puzzle together, truly. And so you can't just run out and get plans from an architect and pay $20,000, or not 20, but pay $10,000, $12,000 for them without a piece of property. You need to know what the property can and can't hold, what the size, the setbacks are, what the elevations are, what type of house are you looking for. There's just so many factors in it that I feel like myself and my team at Coastal Contracting can really help the client make an educated approach at their build. Again, they're married to it with the bank for 30 years. Yeah. They're going to raise their kids there. They're going to make many memories there. We want it to be a good time. We want it to be as enjoyable as possible, the build that is. And then we want them to just enjoy their house, their investment.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, I can tell you're very passionate and genuine about making sure that, at the end of the day, that the customer is fully satisfied, very happy, excited to move into that, that new home that you built them. Do you find that do you find that when your clients are coming to you, are they also interviewing other builders, and why do you think that someone is going to choose to move forward with you versus someone else, even if maybe they're cheaper?
Right. So one thing, and I'll mention Randy again with 4-level. One thing that Randy and his team do a very good job of is remind us, the contractor, how we show up when we meet the client. And then, so to directly answer your question, we get a mix of people who come through the door. Some of them are shopping other builders, and I've had people come through the door and say, I've seen your website, I've seen your reviews, I want you to build our house. So we get a mix of folks like that come through the door, clients that come through the door. One thing I love about Randy, though, in 4-level is they constantly challenge us on how we show up. So when I show up as a builder and I am trying to educate you, I'm not trying to sell you. I'm trying to give you a roadmap to build your house. I'm not just trying to throw numbers at you and put pressure on you. You're more inclined to deal with me. And then to top it off, if I'm actually genuine, which I'm very genuine about that, then that's that much better. And so it's just developing that initial relationship early on. Randy has an acronym he uses. I think sometimes Randy makes up his own acronyms, but that's possible. I see you laughing. You know Randy. So he has an acronym, CANI, C-A-N-I, and it stands for Constant Never-Ending Improvement. And I mean, that's really what we try to do at Coastal Contracting, is every client we deal with is we just try to improve on the process.
Yeah.
Whether it's the sales process, the build process, regardless, we just try to improve on the process.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more? So, Randy Stanberry, for those of you who don't know, he runs 4-level coaching, very seasoned, builder, has a very, very strong financial background. I've seen him work with numerous builders, and he does really great work. But how did you find Randy? What led you to go kind of look for and decide to hire a coach for your business? I mean, it sounds like, you've been doing this for a long time, very successful, have a good handle on, what you're doing, but what led you to go look for that?
So that is a great question. I'm glad you asked me that question. I would say that my wife was instrumental. My wife works with the federal government, and she was instrumental. She has a professional human resources position. And so she was instrumental in saying, you need to look for like a higher level of coaching. Now, to me, and I'll just speak directly to the other male home builders out there, we need to put our pride aside, because trust me, we don't know it all, and we haven't done it all. And I believe, listening to my wife and realizing that I had some of my own shortcomings, and I came across 4-level, made a phone call. Within a couple of days, I spoke with Randy. He called me. I love the fact that Randy is like you, the CEO and founder, and you take the time, as you're doing in this podcast, to pour into me and my business. I love the fact that Randy is as selfless as well. He takes the time to connect with his clients. Randy and I probably had 4 or 5 conversations before I agreed to take him on as a coach, or he agreed to take me on as a client. I'm not sure. And I remember Randy said, talking about low pressure, I had my wife on the phone, on speakerphone, and Randy said, Stephen, I want y'all to both be comfortable with this decision. He took an approach, actually, in hindsight, I've not thought about it till just right now. He took much the approach I take. He wanted to educate me. He never wanted to pressure me at any given point. And there's been times in Randy and I's relationship, which has spanned over 2 years now, where, of course, everything comes with a fee, but to show you how genuine Randy is, there's been times where I may have been struggling, and he actually called me and he said, look, I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm here to help you. And he and I were able to work some things out. He is just a very selfless person. And I love the fact that he's got a team, you mentioned it earlier, all across the United States as well as Canada. So we get a wealth of experience. My coach, I have an individual coach with 4-level who is in Georgia, for example. So he's only a couple of states away. So his market, my market are very similar. I was speaking with a potential 4-level member the other day who I believe is in Pennsylvania. And then Randy has a 4-level coach up there, by the way, that this guy would deal with. So what I like about 4-level is Randy's individual coaches are right in your backyard. They know your market. It's not like they're learning your market from over the internet or from another country. Randy has people everywhere that can just help you grow your business. And I love that they're all so genuine. They're as genuine as you and I sitting here right now. They're just normal people who want to see you succeed. And you can't really go wrong with that. So once I made the decision to go with 4-level and made the decision to go with Randy, I tell you, man, I can't imagine life without it. I honestly don't even know, if I'm being very honest. I don't know if I'd be here today had I not, that my business would be here today. Wow. Had I not made the decision to go with Randy.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to everything that you've said, and the thing that I've always been the most impressed about Randy is just his genuine desire to help others. And it's the the money, the fees, all of that is so secondary to him. He came back. He's come to our office a couple times and just kind of share a little story. Like, he came out and said, Eric, how can I help as many contractors as I can? Like, you see all different, stages of construction companies coming through here. How could I be the most valuable, the most, I add the most, help and be of service? And he said, I'm willing to, if coaching's not a right fit for them, that's totally fine. I'm not trying to push them that direction. He said, I just want to help them. I see so many people struggling to implement software and systems and processes. And he's like, how about we just, pull together and we'll create this new 4-level integrators where, we will just, as a one-off service, give them a couple months of help getting their systems and processes set up so that one day maybe they'll grow and they'll want to go into the coaching route, and maybe they'll want to take it to the next level. But he's like, I don't want to see them fail right out of the gate because they don't get some of the building blocks and the fundamentals put into place. And he genuinely is so passionate just about helping and giving back to the community that I was just blown away by it. Seriously, like I very rarely find people that are saying, look, I just want to do something that's going to help others, even if I'm going to lose money on it or take a loss, or it's not going to drive my top line revenue. His primary business is coaching, but he's like, I just want to help more businesses be able to get to that next level where it's even an option. There's so many contractors who they don't put the right systems, the right processes. They don't know what they don't know. And if you try to ask somebody who has, no money, struggling with cash flow, to pay a huge, upfront cost, or pay this big monthly fee that they're not in a position to afford yet, then, you're not helping. You're just another, challenge for them. And so I love his approach to genuinely trying to bend over backwards to help people earlier on. And he's like, look, if they don't want to move forward with me and coaching and yada yada, no harm, no foul, like I still helped a business. And it really means, a lot to have partners, just like, you see him as a coach and a partner. Like, it means a lot to bring those types of people into our community, because at the end of the day, like, those are the people that are going to try to help as many people, take it to the next level and rise up. And, again, when you do great things, it's not all about the money. And I think you can attest to this too, like finding the right companies, the right, people that you want to work with, that you want to help, that you believe in, and they believe in you, like building relationships and spending our time with people that we care about. And it's just so much more important. And when you do great work and you do great things, like the money will come, like if all you do is chase the money and that's all that matters to you, then, again, you're going to be more likely to make shortcuts, to just kind of not do right by, by your customers or your trade partners or yourself or your employees. Like, money has to be a secondary, just a benefit from doing great. And, I think that he really wholeheartedly, values that. I can hear it from you as well. That's our belief here. Like we Job Tread is super affordable. Our goal is to keep that price as low as we possibly can. I don't believe software should be expensive. I would rather get our software into tens of thousands, eventually hundreds of thousands of contractors' hands, because I genuinely believe this can help set them up for success and to scale. And we don't need to make a fortune on any one company. That's not the goal here. And I think that's so important that people understand that, like, if you're just chasing sales and chasing profits, it really does put you at a conflict of what's best for the company, what's best for your clients and your partners. So, I'm just, I don't know, went on a little tangent there, but I'm a big fan of Randy's and what they're doing. And I love hearing the impact that it's made on you and your business.
Well, I'll tell you, I love to, in today's society, if we're going to be very, very honest, I don't think there's anybody listening, to include us recording this podcast. I think we would all agree that it's hard to find sincerity in people. People that have really changed over the years, and it's very difficult to just find sincerity.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about Randy, is how genuine he is. And I can tell it obviously with you and your company. I've been doing business with y'all over a year now, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made, was to go with Job Tread. Prior to that, I was on board with one of your competitors, Of course, out of respect, wouldn't mention their name, but their software was so confusing and so difficult. And one of the things I remember about JobTread when I first started and I was going through the basic training was you said or one of your trainers said, whatever you're looking for is never more than 3 clicks away. And I was thinking to myself, now that's a software for me, because I'm not real smart when it comes to technology. So whatever I'm looking for is only 3 clicks away. That's where I need to be. Like that's me, right? And so sincerity is really hard in our society to find.
Yeah.
And so Randy definitely 100% brings that to the table. Randy knows my wife's name. I won't say he knows my dog's name. Randy gets to know you and your family. He knows all my people, my employees' names. He knows all their names. He calls them by their name. He asks about them in conversations. He's genuine.
Yeah.
You can't get any more genuine than that. The other thing I love about Randy, and I know this is kind of all Randy, but I'm okay with that, is I love that he is so in tune with your business. Not business on a general scale, but your business. He'll know your P&L. He'll know your numbers, and he will show you he'll show you where the holes are in the strainer. He'll show you where you're losing money. And if you just follow his instruction and follow his training, you will find yourself in a better place. And the other thing I wanted to say too, Eric, this is something I tell. Another thing I never do is call my employees. I think I did that a minute ago. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody knows who the boss is. Everybody knows the pecking order. But I think it's important to show our employees, if you will, respect, right? So I'll always refer to them as, yes, I work with Tommy, or Tommy and I work together, or something of that nature. But I always tell an employee this, there I go again. I always tell them this when I hire them. I say the first priority in custom contracting is the client, because without the client, I don't need you. And the second priority is you, because without you, I can't serve the client, and I'm not worried about anything else. So we just need to focus on those 2 things. And if we focus on those 2 things, everything else will fall into place. And I truly believe that. You said it a minute ago that we need to be, I'm not putting words in your mouth. You never said it like this, but I feel like if we put the client first, if we don't chase the dollar, if we don't chase the profit, I feel like we come out better in the end.
Yeah.
Now, we may not come out as profitable. I love what you said a minute ago, too, about trying to keep the JobTread software price affordable, and it is extremely affordable, trust me. But you want to get it out to the masses.
Yeah.
See, we can reach more people if we can keep it affordable, and in the end make more money or make the same money, but think of the people that we can help in the process.
Yeah.
And that's I love that attitude, that thought, right?
Yeah.
Just keeping the price low so we can reach more people.
And I also agree with you. I'm not a huge fan. Like, the word employee it's kind of a little bit of a weird word. You know, I'm not like a big fan of like really titles at all. You know, I'm such a big believer in like my goal, and we've got, I think, like 35 team members that, I call them team members, teammates. We have 35 people now on the team, and like I want to make sure that this continues to feel like a flat organization. My goal is to keep it as flat as possible. I never want people to feel like they have to go through this chain of command. Like, my door is always open. Everyone's door is always open. Like, I want anyone in this company to feel like they can approach anyone else for help, for guidance, to talk through anything, or get, just whatever it may be. Like, I know a lot of times people kind of get real, egocentric and like, oh, I'm the president, or I'm the CEO. And it's like, to me, like, I want to be the teammate that earns everyone else's respect, because I got my sleeves rolled up and I'm down in the trenches, doing the same thing that you're doing. I would never want to ask someone to do something that I wouldn't do myself, or I haven't done myself. And I think you can just earn the respect of your team and even your clients when they see that. They know that this isn't a guy who, again, he's just in it for the money and just trying to be this, successful, wealthy business owner. Like, he cares, and that's like what's so important to me. And so, like, just like what you said earlier, like it's about making the people on your team feel like they are impactful. They're part of the team. They're making an impact. They're they're helping, with every single project. And I think when you can do that, you create such a stronger, culture and stronger, momentum and potential and value that you can generate for everyone else that's working and interfacing with your business when you have that really strong internal team. And so, I wholeheartedly agree. Like it's, let's not label people as, here's the boss, the manager, the, subordinate, the, whatever you want to call it. It's like we are all people. We're all on the same team and we're all serving very important roles that we all work together. And one of the things we do, just for a second. So like every week we have a team lunch where for an hour and a half, we bring the entire team together every Wednesday and we cater lunch, and like every single department goes through and they all talk about, hey, here's what we, here were our accomplishments this last week. Here's what we're working on now. Here are our challenges. And like, it just brings so much transparency to the rest of the team where people understand what everyone is doing, and it just, I think it helps each and every person respect everyone else in their role, because like they understand, like it's, something like with sales, sometimes it's easy for people to look and say, oh yeah, it's just salespeople. That's, their job is, so easy, or their job is so hard, like, whatever it may be. Like, but when you actually hear people and understand what they're going through, and you recognize people for their big wins and overcoming challenges, like I think that just, it really helps to unify all of the team. And, I would encourage all the contractors and people out there to not just do these types of exercises with your internal team, but also with your subs, your trades, like bring people, even your vendors, suppliers, like bring everyone that you can together and get them on the same page and help them know what your values are and what you're doing, and see the success, see the end goal, the end result that you're delivering for your clients, because that gives them the why. The why is so important. And I think when you do that, you really just take your whole team and the whole mission of your extended family, if you will, to a whole nother level. And, I just, thought I'd throw that out there because it seems like you've got a lot of those same beliefs and values.
Yeah, I agree. One thing I've learned in life, like I said earlier, I'm 56 years old, and I've certainly not always done things right. I've got things out of order. But one thing I've learned over the years is you have to know why you're doing something to do it. Like, I look at personal experience, and then I think about team members. They have to know why. I was in the military for 20 years in the Air Force Reserve, and I retired out of that. But a lot of times in the military, you don't know the why. You just know the yes, sir, and you get it done.
Yeah.
But what I've found in the civilian world is you get so much better result out of your team members. And if you're ready for this, you get so much better result out of your clients if you just explain the why. It all goes down. I was thinking when you were talking about the team meetings on every Wednesday, and you have the staff together and they all have an opportunity to talk and discuss what's going on in their particular area. It's just so important that we communicate. The word that came to me was very simple. It was just communications. Like, we have to communicate, but we have to have effective communications too, because we can sit here and talk about nothing, and at the end of the day, we discuss nothing. So we have to have effective communication, structured communications. But then there's another part to that too that I'm sure we'll get into, is the execution part, right? Then you got to execute.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's where the challenge is.
Well, I did not know that you were in the armed services, and I just want to say thank you for your service. I appreciate you, sacrificing, your life to go and serve this country. That means a lot to me.
Well, I appreciate that. There were a lot of lessons learned over those years, and at the end of the day, it was a good season of my life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a big fan of any time I see somebody who's applied, who has spent time in one of our armed services, military, Air Force, Army, whatever it may be. They immediately go to the next round. Like, just I think there are so many great values in just like the work ethic, the persistence, the drive and determination, like that. Those people are always great people to at least give a good shot at joining your company.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I certainly love the veterans myself.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to go back to that I was just interested to pick your brain a little bit more about. So you said you're opening up a showroom here soon. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and kind of what what is leading you to do that? What's, why didn't you do it sooner? Like, is it, was it kind of a cost thing? Like, and how do you think that's going to impact your business?
So certainly. So the showroom is something that I actually have never even thought of before in the past, up until about 6 months ago. And we brought a local person on board, Susan Siemienkowski, and she has spent her life building businesses. She spent several years as a realtor and sales, home sales. And I was trying to get her in here with me this morning, and our schedules didn't work out. But she is really intelligent, and so I am good at sales, but I don't consider myself a salesman. I where she does. And then so we balanced each other off pretty well. I'm more of an operations execution kind of fella. She's more of a salesperson. So we kind of balanced well. And she said, Stephen, you need a showroom. And I said, well, then what does that look like? And so she told me what it looked like. She gave me some ideas, and I said, okay, well, then let's do it. And so, I mean, you don't know how successful or something will be until you try. So we put a little education. We maybe put a little more conversation and research on the front end than I'm alluding to. But then we decided, let's do this. And so what we want is a client experience that when you come through that door, if you haven't talked to another contractor, you're not going to want to talk to another contractor because of what we can offer. And if you've talked to 20 other contractors before you walk through that door, we don't want you talking to them again after you see what we have to offer. So we really want, I would say our showroom, the overall theme of our showroom would be client experience. We want a good, smooth client experience for the client. For us as well, because it makes the process that much better, right? It makes it that much more enjoyable. We want to enjoy the build as much as they do. And sometimes builds can get tough, but we want it to be fun too. I always tell team members, if you enjoy what you're doing, you'll never go to work a day in your life. And I think that's a pretty old cliche, but there is some truth to it.
Yeah.
So if you enjoy what you're doing, if you enjoy serving clients, if you enjoy providing for clients, you really never go to work a day in your life. You'll just do what you love to do.
Yeah.
And then so for me, the showroom is client experience. It will have, we don't have appliances in it. That we have, I'm looking over there now, we probably have 16 different styles of cabinetry. We have 60 plus pieces of granite and quartz and quartzite to choose from. We have color selections. We have even wallpapers coming back in for you 70s and 80s kids out there. Wallpaper's coming back. Chrome is even coming back. We have faucets. We have fixtures over there. We have some lighting fixtures. So, Eric, our showroom is just about client experience. It's about to give them the biggest bang for their buck that they can get. With flooring, I'm looking over there right now, and there's probably 70 samples of flooring over there. So we can take a client, pick flooring, pick cabinets, pick countertops, pick lighting. We had a client come in on a build recently that we've just started. And within 2.5 hours, they had every selection made to include paint colors.
Wow.
So we record that on a selection sheet. We review it. We have them sign it, and then it becomes part of their file. So right at the point, actually, that was done before the contract was signed. So really, right around that contract signing time, your selections are done. So you don't have to worry about that anymore, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So I think it's all about client experience. I think I would title that just client experience.
Yeah, I love it. And every single contractor I've interviewed who said that they made the choice to invest in a showroom has had nothing but great things to say about it, and that it 100% takes the client experience to a whole nother level. They almost never have somebody that they get into the showroom where they get to meet face to face, have that really in-depth experience about, hey, we think you're going to like this style or that style or this or that. Like when you get to spend that quality time with them, it really takes a relationship to the next level. And, from what I've heard, almost always those clients move forward with the project, and, it really helps set the tone and just help decisions get made, because, a lot of times it's, it can be very challenging. Like, you know what something looks like or something feels like, but sometimes clients just, they got to feel it, they got to see it, they got to experience it. And so I think the more that you can bring that to them is so helpful. So hopefully it'll have the same impact that I've seen that it's made on other businesses, just the same for you all.
Sure. And one thing I love about the design center is it's open to all clients. We've had clients go in there and go with our basic finishes. We call them our uncommon standards at Coastal Contracting, for example, our 10-foot ceilings or LED lighting. I mentioned earlier on the podcast, we don't do anything contractor grade. So we have what we've titled our uncommon standards. So our uncommon standard is 3-centimeter stone. Whether it's quartzite, or granite, I could care less. But our standard is 3-centimeter. We don't use the 2-centimeter, the thinner stuff. That's our standard. So sometimes our standard actually exceeds what the client's expectation was when they walked through the door.
Yeah. And
then other times they'll go in the design center, and we've had clients choose $80,000+ worth of upgrades. So our design center fits everybody. It isn't about trying to sell you something. Again, it's about educating you on what your choices are. We've already set the uncommon standard high. We've already set that bar high. As I mentioned a minute ago, sometimes higher than the client's expectations when they come through the door the first time.
Yeah.
So the bar is already set. And so then I just love that the design center gives clients choices and tangible choices. Touch it, see it, feel it, smell it. And I forget the fifth choice or fifth sense. But yeah, so tangible choices. Not, hey, run down to the local box store and go pick out a light fixture for the table. No, you can see some choices here.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
So I love that they're tangible choices that the clients can see.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing I'd like to ask you, just and it's interesting because I find that when I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, like people early on they're having to wear all the hats. They're having to do sales and they're having to do execution. I tend to find that people either gravitate towards one or the other. A lot of times I feel like people like to gravitate towards sales. It can be the more exciting position, for some of those people. But, for you said you really feel more, passionate and inclined on the execution side. So I'm curious, what tips and strategies would you, share with others that have been helpful for you to manage these larger scale builds, kind of manage the entire process? Like, do you have anything that, that might help others who are struggling to get a handle on all of their operations?
So I have just the answer, and I can sum it up in 3 words, 3 simple words, but they're not my words. Once again, I'm going to have to bring Randy into the equation. They're his words. And the long answer is you've got to have systems and processes in place. You've got to train your people. And then here's the 3 words, trust and release. So once you've put the system and process in place, once you've trained your people, then you've got to follow those 3 words. You have to trust your people. You have to release them to do their job. Otherwise, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And every day is Groundhog Day. You've got to systematize. And look, for any builders out there listening to this podcast, don't let that be a scary word. That doesn't mean you need to jump out tomorrow or next week and have 200 SOPs written by next Friday. That don't mean that at all. That just means that you need to start very small, start documenting your known processes now. If they weren't documented before and you document them now, you're one step ahead of the game. Start small, start documenting your known processes, start building on that, set a bar for the employees or for your team members to be trained on and meet, set the standard, and then just trust and release your team members to do their job.
Yeah.
And then over time, you can get into a cycle of growing new SOPs. But sometimes I think, Eric, when we talk about systematizing or we talk about SOPs, man, that can really just blow our mind. I mean, agreed?
Yeah, it can be very overwhelming.
Yeah, it can be daunting. It can be scary. And
Yep.
then sometimes we realize that we're the ones limiting ourselves because of the way we think, our thought patterns. And so we get the thought pattern in there that, oh man, that's too big of a task. Or I'll give you another good one, Eric. Well, that's for the big guys. I don't really need that.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, I'm not that big, man. I'll never be that big. Right? Says who? You?
Yep.
You know, again, it's the goals we set for ourselves. It's that coach. I'm going back to Randy again. Randy has helped me so much in the last 2+ years to see my own potential. A guy that I've never met in person, I actually just talked to him yesterday. A guy just calls you on the cell phone out of the blue. Hey, man, how you doing? Hey, I see you on your P&L, this or that. I mean, that's how Randy and his team are.
Yeah.
And then so a guy I've never met, like I said before, I've only talked to him on the phone or video calls, has transformed my company. Honestly, probably saved my company.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't agree more. It's about starting small. I'm a big believer in just kind of, break things up into small tasks. Don't let this huge monumental, task or thing that, don't let it overwhelm you. You got to break it down, create small action items that you can take. And, it also comes out to, documenting processes. Like you said, like you don't need to go document everything, but like coming up with, documentation, things that you can use to train others and then be able to, delegate and to trust that the people that you've brought onto your team are going to be able to execute. And when you give them the right documentation, the right training, like, yeah, you got to release. Just like you said, like I think it's one of the biggest struggles for entrepreneurs is learning how to delegate and trust, because, we all naturally think, oh, we can do it the best and we'll do it perfect. But the reality is you can't do everything. You can't do everything, and you can't do everything great. You have to be able to delegate and trust the team as well as the partners that you're working with to be able to execute on your vision. And as long as they have that same desire and passion to do excellent, then, you got to figure out how to sort of come to grips with you. You got to let go and you got to trust. And, it sounds like you've done a really good job at that. So, appreciate you sharing all those tips there. It's great advice. And hopefully it sounds like we'll be able to, at least in January at Job Trade Connect, you'll finally get to meet Randy face to face, because he'll be there for you.
Randy and I talked about that yesterday. We talked about Job Trade Connect coming up in January. What are those dates again in January?
January 15th to the 17th.
Yeah, and it's right there at the West End, right there in Dallas, right?
Yeah, it's at our office. We actually, last year it was at the West End. We've had to upgrade to a much bigger venue, but it's like 10 minutes from our office here.
Okay, awesome. So I am looking forward. I've never met you in person before either, so I am definitely looking forward to January.
Yeah,
100%.
Can't wait to have you. Now, I think you guys are coming. Are you coming to our next Job Trade boot camp in October?
Camp. Yes, we're coming to boot camp. My newest team member, Amanda, will be coming to boot camp. I honestly, I've been in your program for over a year now, so I didn't know if boot camp would be the right fit for me at this point, but I'm definitely coming to the conference, 100%.
Awesome. Well, look, I appreciate you for coming on, for sharing all of this. Again, I hope that this has, been valuable for all of our listeners out there who, maybe earlier on, maybe still got one foot in the tools, one foot trying to figure out how to build a business. Like, you've shared a lot of really valuable insight with us, and I appreciate it, as well as just, again, like, hey, look, you can hire a coach. Like, we got to put our egos aside and put all that down and just like, hey, let's focus on how do I become a better builder? How do I become a better leader? How do I build a better team and do better for my clients? And I think when you have that attitude and that mindset, it really opens you up to taking your business to the next level. I'm really excited to see where you can take coastal contracting in the next several years. But it's been awesome just seeing your success so far and hearing about all the success that that you and your team, that Randy's been able to help you with. So I look forward to getting to meet you in person here soon. And until then, I want to thank you, for everything that you've done, for your service, and I look forward to seeing what the future holds for you. I think it's going to be great.
Well, Eric, thank you for the kind words. And I'd be remiss to say it's definitely not me that does it. It's the team that does it. And it's our clients. It's the right clients that really make Coastal Contracting successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Stephen. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Builder Stories. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and gained valuable insights that can help you in your journey along the way. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave us a review. And as always, if you or someone you know has a story to share, please contact us at builderstories.com. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Eric Fortenberry, and remember, every builder has a unique story. Keep building yours.